I want to end this edition as we've been basically going through the celebration or the commemoration of the Chinese Communist Party's 100th anniversary, this transnational criminal organization that tie it all back to the United States and our freedom here. I want to bring in Rachel, one of the Lao Beijing, because remember, it's their fight that we support, and through their freedom, we're going to actually free the world. Rachel, I've got to ask you, in the 100th celebration with CNN and the Financial Times are going crazy and how great it is, you've lived it. Talk to us about what it's like to live under the transnational criminal organization that is the Chinese Communist Party, ma'am.
Yes. First of all, thank you, Mr. Bannon, for having me on the Warren Show. There is a very famous writer in the 20th century. I think every Chinese knows him. His name is Lu Xun. He once wrote, he died actually in 1938. He once said, there are only two eras in China, the era of stable slavery and the era of fighting for becoming slaves. So I'm going to explain this. I believe that the Chinese living in the control of the CCP today are slaves. I will give you two perspectives of mine. One is from the historical perspective and under the Mao's era. And then if we have time, we can get on to the modern day China. So under the Mao's regime and the dictatorship and authoritarianism, we have, a lot of people know we have a great Chinese famine that happened from 1959 to 1961. However, in China, nobody can talk about the 3 years of famine. We all regard it as 3 years of a natural disaster. This is in your textbook. This is on television programming from the CCP propaganda. So you're only allowed to say this is 3 years of natural disaster, but it's purely a lie. Everything about it is man-made. So first of all, a lot of audience, even the Chinese, they don't know. Prior to the natural disaster, there are a couple. It's called patriotic health campaign or movements that initiated by Mao and dictator. One of them is called eradicating schistosomiasis. So schistosomiasis is a disease that caused by a parasitic worm in fresh water. So the vector of the disease is snail. So the know-it-all dictator leader Mao believed that he can solve this problem by kill the snail. Because he wants to increase the grain production at that time. And the disease also refers to as a peasant disease. So what he did is he basically resort to land reclamation and irrigation schemes, which caused a lot of water logging and water supply issue, and contributing to the severe flood and soil degradation even to this day. So this is one of the campaign causing the grain to yield low right prior to the Great Famine. And the other one is ridiculous campaign. It's called wiping out 4 pests. It started also similar time. And one of the 4 pests is actually sparrow. Because at that time, the dictatorship, the tyranny believed sparrow eat grains. If they can kill all the sparrow, they can solve the problem. It's not because Chinese people don't have experts. We do. It's just because under this dictatorship system, nobody can speak a different view or voice even mild dissent, because all those behaviors considered as seditious. So we're met with consequences. So they actually killed all the sparrow. It's a nationwide propaganda campaign. Involved kids like 6 years old using slingshots, kill the sparrow. So only shortly after the next year, spring, they find out the locust came, and the locust ate all the grains. So they have no rice left for the people. But this is not the worst of all. What's really causing the starvation of 30 to 45 million Chinese people are really the system. What I meant by that is because at that time, it's a controlled economy. So the government dictates the peasants in terms of what you grow and how much the government would buy from you and at what price. So you have no choice. Everything is controlled by the central government, the CCP. So despite
Rachel, hang on 1 second. I want to bring you back at 5 because I want to take more time to develop this. Nobody talks about the deaths of Chinese citizens, particularly Chinese peasants, of 30, 40 million starved to death because of the decisions
right.
of Mao Zedong and his thing. We're going to bring you back at 5 o'clock because I also want to go through and talk to you about Charlie Mungers of the world and the American elites that are in business with the Chinese Communist Party and don't believe that don't believe the Chinese people have been enslaved, and they don't have any problem with the destruction of Chinese civilization by the transnational criminal organization that is the Chinese Communist Party. It's an honor to have you on. We're going to have you back on 5 to develop this further. We're back here live at 5 o'clock, Independence Day weekend, talking about the slavery of the Chinese people, the independence that was fought for the American people. Where do we stand today? Independence weekend in the War Room. Back here at 5 o'clock. It's going to be explosive. Also tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, Mike Lindell is going to join us about the revolutionary generation, all in the War Room, all live, all weekend.